after the Milwaukee Bucks decided to waive and stretch Damian Lillard's contract. Over the next 5 seasons, Dame time has officially hit the free agency market, sending ripples across the NBA. The move came as a surprise to some, but seemed inevitable, given Lillard's recent injury struggles and the Bucks' roster construction challenges, with several contending teams reportedly expressing immediate interest. The Boston Celtics find themselves on a short list of franchises that could pursue one of the best scorers of this generation. But is signing Damian Lillard a smart move for the Celtics, especially when considering his injury, the state of Boston's roster, and their near-term championship aspiration? This question is what we're diving into today, exploring the pros and cons, the financial realities, and the future outlook for both Lillard and the Celtics. Damian Lillard is no ordinary player, a multiple-time All-Star, a clutch performer known worldwide as Dame Time, and an automatic Hall of Famer in the making. He has defined what it means to be a lethal scoring guard in today's NBA. His deep range, fearless shot-making, and leadership have carried the Portland Trail Blazers for over a decade. However, the last couple of seasons have been anything but typical for Lillard. His move to Milwaukee was initially seen as a bold step toward chasing a championship alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo, a superstar who had already lifted the Bucks to NBA glory. Expectations were sky high, but reality has been more complicated. Lillard's efficiency dipped to career lows in the 200-320 per season, and he battled through injuries, culminating in a devastating torn Achilles suffered in the first round of the playoffs against Indiana. This injury is significant, especially for a 34-year-old guard whose game relies heavily on explosiveness and agility. As news broke that the Bucks were waiving Lillard, many wondered what kind of contract he might command on the open market, given the severity of his injury and the uncertainty about his availability for the entire next season and possibly the postseason. It seems unlikely any team would offer him a max contract or even a substantial long-term deal right now. Instead, the veteran minimum or a low-cost short-term deal appears more realistic. In fact, league insiders speculate Lillard could potentially return after the 2026 All-Star break. But there's a lot of skepticism around that timeline. Recovery from an Achilles tear is notoriously difficult, and history shows that few players return to their pre-injury form, especially at Lillard's age. Still, his reputation as a competitor and scorer makes him an intriguing option, especially for teams willing to take a gamble. Boston is an interesting case. The Celtics have long been one of the league's premier franchises, boasting a roster stacked with talent including stars like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. However, Tatum's own Achilles injury means Boston faces an uncertain timeline before returning to full competitiveness. The Celtics are currently deep in luxury tax territory, and they've just made the signing of Josh Minott, pushing their payroll even higher. With nearly $20 million over the luxury tax apron, Boston needs to clear salary to maintain financial flexibility. Adding Lillard's contract, even if partially paid by Milwaukee through the stretch provision, would complicate that further. From Lillard's perspective, the Celtics don't currently look like a championship contender for the upcoming season. The roster has gaps, especially in depth and experience, and with Tatum sidelined, Boston's immediate outlook is more about development and rebuilding than competing for a title. For a player like Lillard, known for his competitive fire and desire to be on a winning team, signing with the Celtics right now might not be appealing if his goal is to compete immediately. However, if the deal is structured around rehabilitation support and a chance to return stronger alongside Tatum, who is going through a similar recovery, that could present a unique and valuable opportunity for both players. Imagine the narrative to future Hall of Famers, once dominant scorers now battling back from career-threatening injuries. Side by side in Boston, the mental and physical support could be priceless. Financially, it's doubtful Boston will enter the luxury tax further to sign Lillard. Their current payroll commitments and the need to shed salary before the next season make it unlikely they'll pursue him aggressively. The Celtics might look to trade some players such as J.D. Davidson, Anthony Simons, or George Niang to create room, but the luxury tax penalties and limited trade exceptions mean any moves must be carefully calculated. Boston's front office is aware of the challenges, especially since they want to avoid repeater tax penalties, which can become incredibly costly. On the other hand, the Golden State Warriors might be a more suitable landing spot for Lillard. The Warriors have more financial flexibility, a world-renowned medical and training staff, led by experts like Rick Celebrini, and the benefit of being Lillard's hometown team from Oakland. The prospect of returning closer to family and working with a top-notch staff could be attractive. Moreover, Golden State's roster construction allows for a more patient approach with injured veterans, and their playing style might suit Lillard's skills even if he's limited in minutes. Back to Boston, the next couple of seasons look like they will be more developmental and transitional rather than championship runs, with Tatum expected to miss the entire upcoming season and the team over the luxury tax threshold. The Celtics' focus is likely on developing young talent like Luke Kornet, Baylor Shireman, Hugo Gonzalez, and others who might become rotation contributors down the line. The hope is that by 2027, when Tatum and Brown are back at full strength and in their prime years, Boston can build a roster capable of competing for multiple titles. Looking at the bigger picture, the Celtics currently project to have only a core of Tatum, Brown, White, Howard, and Pritchard under contract by the summer of 2027, totaling around $176 million. Adding promising young players like Baylor Shireman could push that number closer to $181 million. But Boston will have plenty of cap flexibility to pursue big free agents or make significant trades. Estimates suggest Boston could comfortably assemble a roster spending upwards of $300 million over consecutive seasons, without triggering costly repeater tax penalties. This financial breathing room, combined with their draft capital, puts the Celtics in a strong position to reshape their roster around their superstar core when the time is right. Until then, Celtics fans should temper expectations. The next 2 seasons may not be pretty, and Boston might even consider tanking to secure higher draft picks and build the foundation for the championship window starting in 2027. This approach aligns with many modern NBA teams who focus on short competitive windows and roster flexibility, rather than maintaining constant contention. In summary, signing Damian Lillard right now might not be a perfect fit for Boston. While the idea of the top-tier stars rehabilitating together is compelling from a human and narrative standpoint, the financial realities and current roster status make a deal difficult. Lillard's best landing spot might be a team like Golden State, where the medical support, cap space, and local ties provide a smoother path forward. For Boston, the focus remains on developing young players and clearing salary to re-enter contention at full strength in the 2027 season and beyond. But what do you think? Should the Celtics take a chance on Damian Lillard, signing him to a veteran minimum contract, mainly for his recovery support and potential playoff contributions in a later season, or is the risk too high? And should Boston focus solely on the youth movement and future windows? And would you be willing to endure a couple of down years, even a tank season, to clear the way for a championship run once Tatum returns at full health? The Celtics' future is a puzzle with many moving parts, and the next few years will be critical for shaping the franchise's trajectory. Whatever happens, the upcoming offseason promises to be eventful for Boston fans. The front office under Brad Stevens will need to make smart moves, balancing finances, roster construction, and player development. If history is any guide, the Celtics will be aggressive in navigating these challenges and working to position themselves as a title contender once again. Stay tuned for more updates, trade signings, and in-depth analysis as the Celtics continue their journey toward reclaiming their place at the top of the NBA hierarchy. As the Boston Celtics contemplate their next moves in this evolving NBA landscape, it's clear that the decisions made over the coming months will define the franchise's trajectory for years to come. The possibility of adding Damian Lillard, despite his injury and uncertainty, has reignited discussions about the Celtics' ambitions and the delicate balance between competing now and planning for a sustainable championship window. What makes this situation particularly challenging for Boston is the intersection of financial constraints, player health, and long-term roster flexibility. Boston's payroll situation is notably precarious, being nearly $20 million above the luxury tax apron puts the franchise in a tight spot. Every dollar over that threshold means the Celtics are not only paying exorbitant salaries to their players, but also steep taxes to the league money that doesn't contribute directly to team building or player acquisition. The luxury tax system, while designed to promote competitive balance, often penalizes teams that try to keep multiple star players together. Boston's commitment to stars like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart has pushed them deep into this territory, and adding even a veteran minimum contract for a player like Lillard, with the Bucks absorbing some of the salary via the stretch provision, could still tip the scales unfavorably. That said, the Celtics front office is well aware of these financial pressures and has a history of savvy maneuvering in the salary cap arena to create room for potential signings or trades. Boston may look to offload players who, while valuable, may not fit the long-term core vision, or whose contracts add to the tax burden. Players like J.D. Davidson and George Niang, who have shown promise but carry mid-level contracts, could be traded to teams looking for veteran depth or salary fillers in exchange for draft picks or younger assets. The Celtics' willingness to part with such players indicates a clear intention to keep the core of Tatum, Brown, and Smart intact, while surrounding them with the right mix of role players and future draft picks. From a basketball standpoint, Boston's strategy hinges heavily on the health of its stars. With Tatum sidelined for the entirety of the upcoming season due to his Achilles injury, the Celtics will have to rely on Jaylen Brown and supporting cast members to keep the team competitive even if the expectations are modest. Tatum's recovery timeline is crucial. The sooner he returns at full strength, the quicker Boston can reestablish itself as a true contender. Meanwhile, Jaylen Brown's development into a more consistent leader and scorer remains vital. His ability to shoulder more responsibility on both ends of the floor will determine how well the Celtics weather this transitional phase. In this context, signing Damian Lillard becomes a fascinating proposition. While his injury cast doubt on his availability and effectiveness in the immediate term, his veteran leadership, scoring prowess, and championship experience could be invaluable once he returns. Pairing Lillard and Tatum, both recovering from Achilles injuries, might seem risky, but it also offers a unique opportunity to build a resilient team culture grounded in perseverance and shared adversity. The mental toughness required to overcome such setbacks could galvanize the Celtics locker room, fostering an environment where recovery and growth are celebrated as much as victories. However, the decision to bring Lillard into this mix is not solely about basketball or health. It's deeply entwined with Boston's financial planning. The luxury tax penalties for repeated violations grow exponentially, and the Celtics must avoid triggering the repeater tax, which would impose crushing costs in future seasons. To this end, Boston is exploring multiple avenues to shed salary, including potential trades and restructuring contracts. These moves are delicate as the team needs to maintain enough depth and talent to stay competitive even while in a rebuilding or transitional mode. The Celtics also face the challenge of integrating young talent. Players like Luke Kornet, Baylor Shireman, and Hugo Gonzalez represent the future. Developing these players is essential not just for on-court contributions, but also for financial flexibility. Young players on rookie contracts or team-friendly deals provide the team with cap space to pursue impactful free agents or execute trades without being hamstrung by excessive salary commitments. Boston's draft capital remains a key asset, enabling the franchise to replenish its talent pipeline or package picks and trades to accelerate the rebuilding process. Looking beyond the Celtics, the broader NBA environment is shifting rapidly. The Golden State Warriors, for example, appear to be a logical destination for Damian Lillard. With more cap flexibility, a world-class medical and training staff, and the advantage of a familiar hometown environment for Lillard, the Warriors can offer an appealing rehabilitation platform. Golden State's style of play, emphasizing ball movement, spacing, and off-ball movement, might also suit a player who may need to adapt his game post-injury. Additionally, the Warriors' roster is structured in a way that can absorb Lillard's minutes, gradually reducing pressure on his body as he returns to form. Other teams may also emerge as potential suitors, though few can match the Warriors' combination of financial resources, medical expertise, and championship pedigree. The Los Angeles Lakers, for instance, have expressed some interest in veterans on short-term deals, but their own salary cap complications make it difficult to envision a significant role for Lillard without major roster upheaval. Similarly, teams like the Miami Heat or Dallas Mavericks have the infrastructure to support an injured star's comeback, but roster fit and financial constraints remain significant hurdles. For the Celtics, patience might be their best strategy. The upcoming seasons could be viewed as a controlled rebuilding period focused on developing young talent, managing finances prudently, and preparing for a championship run in the 2027 season and beyond. This approach requires buy-in from players, fans, and the organization, as there will inevitably be growing pains and frustrating stretches of mediocrity. But the promise of assembling a core of healthy superstars entering their prime years offers hope that the sacrifices made now will pay dividends later. Moreover, this transitional phase could redefine the Celtics' identity. Rather than merely being a perennial contender, Boston could position itself as a model franchise that excels in roster construction, player development, and injury management. By embracing innovative medical approaches and cultivating resilience among its players, the team can build a culture that attracts talent and fosters sustained success. In this light, signing Damian Lillard, even on a minimal contract, could symbolize a commitment to that vision, representing a belief in redemption, perseverance, And the power of veteran leadership. Of course, there are risks. Lillard's injury, history, and age mean there are no guarantees he will return to his previous elite level. The investment in his recovery could divert resources and attention from developing younger players or acquiring new talent. Additionally, the salary cap implications might limit Boston's ability to add complementary pieces around its core, potentially stalling the team's progress. Balancing these competing priorities will test the Celtics' management and coaching staff over the next several years. As the Celtics navigate this complex landscape, the league's competitive dynamics will continue to evolve. Teams that successfully manage their payroll, cultivate young talent, and integrate experienced veterans will have a distinct advantage. Boston's historical prestige and passionate fan base add pressure, but also provide a foundation of support and expectation. Ultimately, the franchise's ability to adapt to challenges, whether injuries, salary cap constraints, or player development setbacks, will determine its success. In closing, the Damian Lillard situation encapsulates many of the dilemmas facing the Celtics today. It's a microcosm of larger questions about ambition, risk, and strategic planning in professional sports. Whether Boston chooses to embrace Lillard as part of its future or focuses solely on internal growth and financial prudence, the decisions made will resonate far beyond a single offseason. For Celtics fans, this period may feel uncertain and frustrating at times, but it also holds the promise of a renewed dynasty built on resilience, intelligence, and a shared commitment to excellence. As the 2025 offseason unfolds, all eyes will be on Boston. Will the Celtics strike a deal for Damian Lillard, betting on his recovery and veteran leadership, or will they chart a course focused on youth and cap flexibility, patiently waiting for their stars to return at full strength? Whatever the path, the journey ahead promises drama, excitement, and the relentless pursuit of championship glory that defines the storied Celtics franchise. But before we continue, please remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest news about the Boston Celtics. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In the ever-buzzing world of the NBA, whispers and rumors often turn into headlines overnight. And the latest stir is all about a potential blockbuster signing that could shake up the Eastern Conference. Insiders are buzzing that Cooper FLAGG, one of the most promising young talents on the basketball radar, might have already agreed to join the Boston Celtics. While nothing has been officially confirmed, sources close to the player hint that the deal is practically sealed, sending waves of excitement through Celtics fans and NBA analysts alike. Cooper FLAGG has been a name on the rise, a standout player whose versatility, skill, and basketball IQ have caught the attention of scouts and coaches across the league. His ability to impact the game on both ends of the court makes him a highly coveted asset. The Celtics, known for their strategic moves and long-term vision, appear ready to add this young prodigy to their roster, hoping he can bring fresh energy and talent to a team that has consistently been in championship contention. The rumor mill suggests that FLAGG's style fits perfectly with Boston's approach: high-paced offense, solid defense, and a team-first mentality. If this move goes through, it would mark a significant step in the Celtics' rebuilding and championship aspiration. The team has been active in seeking young, dynamic players who can develop alongside their core stars, and Cooper FLAGG seems like the ideal piece to complement that strategy. Of course, this deal raises plenty of questions.